Hi everybody, my name is Alexey Archipenko, and today I'm going to show you an example of using rock instrument libraries. The piece is called Heavy Cover. It is not a cover song, it is just the name of the piece, Heavy Cover. And three instruments are used. Orange Tree Evolution strawberry guitar, cherry bass, and Hollywood Loops big rock drums for drum set. The piece is created in Sibelius. Many people think that Sibelius is not very good for rock songs, but you can use VST instruments inside Sibelius. So I used VST instrument for my three guitars, one solo guitar and two rhythm guitars. Bass guitar and drum set, Sibelius sounds. So you can see in the mixer that these three channels are guitars. They are connected to contact 5, and these two channels are bass and drums that are connected to Sibelius player. So I added contact VST DLLs to the folders that are visible in Sibelius, added folders, restarted Sibelius. Then I could see contact library here. Then I activated it, created new configuration, saved it, and then I was able to open the contact inside Sibelius. Each track is forwarded to single channel, MIDI channel 1, 2, and 3, and all these channels are inside the single contact instance. Each guitar is one channel. Okay, and after that I've get all the sound into the guitar rig, VST effect. It is also connected in Sibelius on this tab, effects tab. So guitar rig is connected here. You can see settings for it when you press this button. Currently I send all the sound to guitar rig, but I can send only contact sound if I put it here. The piece itself is composed using some pentatonic, repeated passages, 4th, 5th intervals, short muted notes, bends, and so on. So here is the Cubase project that was created by importing the MIDI track, MIDI file from Sibelius. Here you can see three guitars. Each guitar is forwarded to a separate contact instance. Each contact instance has a separate guitar instrument and the bass instrument, and the drums are created using WAV files without the instrument, so just adding WAV files. So each of three guitars is the separate instrument. This is done like this because I needed separate legato voicings, separate graphs. There are a lot of continuous controls, you can see here. So I created separate tracks and separate instruments. Talking about the raw guitars, I can say that I think this Orange Tree Evolution electric guitar strawberry is one of the best instruments, although it is not the most detailed. Perhaps the most detailed is electricity, but it is more difficult, and for some purposes it is not so expressive. This guitar is pretty simple. It has some drawbacks. It needs some programming. Programming of controllers, programming of key switches. All these need to be done manually, but you can save your presets and then load them. This is what I did for the second and third track of the guitar. The third instrument that I can recommend is a Pettinghouse direct guitar. It is also pretty good, but it is the most simple one, and it has the least of the possibilities. You can listen to the track using the link below the video, and also you can listen to it on my site, that is on the slide. Now talking about the guitar. The first thing that I use in this track is the effect. This is the effect. So what I do here is go to Effects tab, Mapping, Extended Effects, select the effect that I need. This is Slide Scrape 2, I think. Yes. Then I bind it to some particular key switch here, and then I press this and extend it so that the end of the sound, effect sound, comes to the starting of the notes. Then here is the chord. It is 3 notes, and you see that the notes start not at the same time. This simulates the real situation when the guitarist, when the instrument player first hits the lowest note when he moves his hand, his right hand, then the second string, then the next thing and the next thing, and so hits several strings this way. And also when muting the strings, he can move away the finger of the left hand, which is holding the strings, so that first the lowest strings become free, and then the next and the next string. So this is the way it is programmed here. Also, you can see some pull-offs and hammer-ons. They are created automatically using this library, just using the overlapping. Also, you can see that this overlapping of these notes does not bring an hammer-on, because you can see it here, articulation, there is no hammer-on. There is sustain when it comes to this note, because the legato range is set to minor third. So this is not minor third, it is larger, it is something like fourth. It is not played as legato, it is played as just a new note. Next thing that I do here is using the fret position. No, it is not fret position. Fret position is this one. Fret position is always constant in my tracks. It means that the player tends to play on some particular fret position. For rhythm guitars, I use mostly open strings. This is continuous control 21 set to 0. And for solo guitar, I use something about the 8th fret. The next thing is pick noise. It is here. It is also learned manually. And the pick noise is something, some burst of sound, short burst of sound at the beginning of the note, when a musician hits the string with his pick strongly. So it sounds like this. For example, you can listen to the first note that does not have a pick noise, and the second note that has a pick noise. This is the difference. And if we switch the effects off, then the difference is not that much. And this is without effects. So this sound is comes to life when you use some distortion overdriving. The next thing that is used here is tracking. Originally, only one guitar is playing. And here the 4 guitars begin to play the same thing. It is set up using the single continuous control 23. Here tracking allows changing to 2 guitars, 3 guitars and 4 guitars. So when you want to have a more massive sound, you can use this to change tracking, for example, to 4 guitars. But when effects are used, the difference is not so much. But there is some difference. So this allows to add some more difference to the repeating melodies and phrases. Okay. Next thing that I use here is pick position. It means the position where the pick is hitting the strings. You see that when the melody is playing, the pick is gradually moving from the right to the left, so from the neck to the bridge. This is why when the last note is hit, it has some high frequencies and some particular sound that is possible only when hitting the string near the bridge. If I move this to the neck, then the sound will be different. Now the next thing that is used here is, the next thing is vibrato. And vibrato is controlled like in the sample modeling instruments and in amber tone strings. It has control of the amount and speed. So amount is continuous control 1, it is the default, and the speed is continuous control 19. That I think is not default, but I use it. So you see that here we add some vibrato, and here also. You see that the vibrato is very subtle here, because if we increase it, then it becomes very rough. Next thing that I use is pitch wheel. Pitch wheel in this library can be used for 2 different purposes. It is slides and bends. So in this particular situation, in this particular instrument, it is not automated, and there is no automation for the mode, and mode selected is bend. So pitch bend always moves to the major second, it is the whole tone, when the pitch bend goes up the whole way. Okay. And the last thing that I use here is the velocity. Velocity is used for example, showing that the first hit of the first note is the loudest and the next note are not so loud. Also to decrease the velocity of pull-offs and some notes, short notes in between the phrases. And also I change the length of some notes, like I do it in the other lectures, in the other tracks, to create more realistic sound. For example, here there's one length, here is the other length. Maybe you can look here. But here I also use the key switch for mute. D0. It is also set manually here for mute. Also you can see that I do not use any randomization here. I do not change the length of notes, for example, like this or like this, because the round robin is pretty nice and it creates a non-machine gun sound already. But you can add here. I use some random moving of the pick, not connected to the melody, just to create some sound close to phasing, but natural phasing created by moving the hand. And I add some noises, pick noises here to some notes. The next guitar starts the same way that the first guitar is, and it just doubles the first guitar. So when there are 4 guitars playing at 23 continuous control, switch the quadruple tracks, guitar tracks, then 8 guitars are playing, 4 from this track and 4 from the first track. So this creates a more massive sound. Here you can see that I decrease the volume of the velocity of the intermediate notes, also to create more realistic sounding. Because if I do not do this, then there is sound of repeating samples, you know. Here the same moving of the pick, some adding of noises. Let's move to the solo guitar. The solo guitar is more interesting. It uses more vibrato. And the vibrato here is more like, not that rough. You can hear that the start of the melody is pretty rough, it is noisy. But in the mix it sounds very good. So this noise adds up and creates the realistic sound. Here I use the reduction of length of this each second note, which is usual for many solos. And here I change the length of the third notes. And also in these groups I change the length of the second note in the second group. Here you see that Pitchbend controls not bending but slide here. This is sliding. This is sliding, and the distance of slide is major third. So it is sliding approximately here to the D sharp, and then the next note comes in. But then in this track I use automation for this mode of the pitch wheel action. It is continuous control 25. When it is set to 0 it is bend, and when it is set to high values it is slide. So here is bending, here bending starts with the pitch wheel, you see. The interesting thing here is that I need to return the frequency, or I need to change the frequency of the note. For example, here if I want to sound A note, I need A. Then I need to either change the pitch wheel back to 0, and then I can return to A, or the other way I can just let it be at the maximum value, but then change the pitch of the note. Sometimes it is convenient to use this way, but usually a more convenient way is to return just before the note starts, the next note starts somewhere here. Also, you can see that this bend has the down action. This means that it is pre-bend. It is the note that is pre-bend when it starts. So it is not A, it is something like G maybe. You see slide here because the continuous control 25 is high. So here is slide that is reset back just before the next note starts. Here I use some techniques manipulating the length of notes to decrease the to increase the realism of these notes sounding, because they are of the same length. So initially it was like this, two quaver notes and 3 triplet notes. So if I leave it like this, it sounds very sampling, something like I added some samples, because round robin is not enough here, because there are a lot of notes. So after changing the length so that the length is always different, I receive the results of more realistic sound. Natural fade out. The same thing, but the repeated notes. Also, you can see that dynamics is changing, and some notes are very low in velocity. And sometimes I add some noise again. The position on the fretboard is always changing randomly without taking the melody into account. Also, I use some fret noises. They are bound to some key switch it is G0. It is not very audible here. It just creates the sense of movement. And here it is more audible. Okay, let's come to bass. So the bass is more simple. It is the same company that created the guitar. It is also Orange Tree, but it is more simple, and I think it is one of the simplest basses that sound pretty good. But of course, it does not have very much flexibility. Anyway, it creates a pretty good sound. And you hear here is the slide, but you cannot create the slides more than 2 tones, I think. The usual slide is 1 tone if it is created from the center of the pitchbend, because in this instrument you cannot change the distance of the slide. But you can increase it to 2 whole tones if you start the note already slided. For example, slide it 1 tone above. So it was the note B, but I moved it to A and slided it up while there was no note. So you hear that there is the same note. This is the way that you can create longer slides with this instrument. Next thing is mute. It's created with the key switch that you set in the settings of the instrument. And also an interesting thing about this instrument is that even if I switch the effects off, then you can hear that these higher notes with high velocity, notes with high velocity sound more close to some slap, because the player just hits the string that way that they begin to touch the fretboard. It is very good and very interesting, because we do not need just some more sound, just more volume. We need a different sound. We need the sound of a player playing more harder. Okay. Also, you should understand that the effects in the guitar world can change the articulation significantly. So you should check how do your articulations, additional noises that you add to the track, for example, peak noises and something else, how they sound with the effects that you are going to choose ultimately. Let's talk about the drums now. You can see that all the drums were initially created with the track in Sibelius, but I do not use them anymore in the project. They are muted, and the drums were imported from some loops, and they sound very good. There is some comping there, And also there are some fills. For example, here there will be a fill. So what I did here is just selected some particular loops, sometimes cut them in parts. For example, here I took a part of the loop, and then I took the loops together so that they flow from one loop to another. Very good. You see that sometimes there are some gaps, and ideally you can add some fading, but this is not necessary here because most of the loops are usually zero crossed, so they are cut near the zero crossings, and the other loops are usually decreased. Some amplitude is decreased near the beginning and ending, but not always, so you should check. Usually you should check. Some loops do not have gaps, and some loops overlap sometimes. Also, if you have large overlapping, then you can use additional track like this. And also, if you need to add some single hits, you can also use loops. So here I use a loop. I just cut the single hit from the loop because I decided to do it because I wanted the loop to be in tune. I mean to have the hit to be in tune with the other loops. So it's the same drum set, the same player, the same sound, the same room, these things. Okay, so how the sound goes. Each guitar, strawberry guitars, have their own effects, but they are all disabled. No stomp boxes, no amplifiers, no cabinets, no delays, no reverbs. Everything is switched off for each guitar and each bass. And all the tracks have their own guitar rigs. I will show the settings. This is the first guitar, the second guitar, it's rhythm guitar. The first was not shown full. This is the full. This is the solo guitar. You see that all these phasers, reverbs, delays, they're all switched off because I use just the room reverb here. It is added later. And also the bass also has its own guitar rig instance, and all this with the drums goes to the main bus, and the main bus has Altiverb and the FabFilter limiter. As for the randomization, I do not use it in this track. The tempo is constant because there are loops, and for loops usually they usually recorded at the constant tempo, even if the groove is not very constant, even if the groove is not very very exact to the tempo, but they usually are recorded at some special tempo, some fixed tempo. But you can experiment with this, and you can add some tempo changes, especially when you hear that the loop does not ideally fit the groove of your track. Sometimes it happens here. You can hear it, for example, here. So you hear that the drums are not ideally lined up with the other instruments in terms of the rhythm. So you can either move the other instruments or you can change their tempo so that they are lined up better. But generally it is okay. The next thing is stereo panning. The guitars are panned differently. Two rhythm guitars are panned to the left and to the right. The solo guitar is panned to center. Bass is also in the center. And the drums are in the center because they already have their own stereo image. Thank you for watching and welcome to my next video lectures.